I needed.
All right. Good morning. Today is February 28th, 2023. The time is now 9 a.m. I'm Kevin Day, Chair of the Custer County Board of Commissioners, and I will call this meeting commissioners to order. And if you do have cell phones, please silence them at this time. You would join me for the pledge, please. Bill, would do this.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, so sorry. Here's something. I had YouTube film.
And if you would join me for the invocation. Father, we come before you this morning, Lord, and we just ask that you would be with us as we come together and meet for the business of the county. We ask, Lord, for your direction. We ask for your guidance. We ask that you would just guide us throughout this meeting. We do pray this in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen. Okay, if we could get a roll call, Kelly.
Commissioner Day,
Here.
Commissioner Candace.
Here.
Commissioner Flower.
Present.
And Clerk to the Board, Kelly Camper, present.
Okay, and introductions. We'll start with you, Lisa.
Lisa Bivens, Finance and Human Resources.
David Day Wetmore.
And Jennifer Cree, admin to the board.
All right. And I'm not sure we have people online, but if anyone goes to speak later, we do have some online. But if you go to speak later, please identify yourself for the record. That would be great. Any amendments for the agenda?
None from me.
None here.
I do, sir. I'm sorry, I was on another dock. I would move to amend the agenda to add consideration of a special BOCC meeting March 2nd, 2 p.m.
Okay. I would second that. And
What's the reason
any
for that?
discussion? Is there a reason for it to be on the agenda? Or
Oh, I thought we had scheduled an executive session that day.
we did.
Can't do that without a BOCC meeting.
And I did get one posted, but
Oh, the meeting itself.
yes,
Oh,
Yeah, it's there.
is that something we need to vote on or not?
yeah, there's no harm
I
in
don't
voting
think
on
so.
it, so we can do that. We can go ahead and add it.
You've not voted on it. I mean, you
Right,
voted on.
that was,
It's just a,
that was my thinking, that we had not formally voted to have a special meeting.
Okay.
I didn't know whether you had posted it or not. I assumed you hadn't, but I know
I
your email
had
said you wanted
contact
to
with
get it
Jennifer yesterday and had her post a meeting.
it was in time.
Yeah, I think it would be appropriate for us to vote on having a meeting, although again, there we go. We're victims of lack of policy, right? So I don't think it hurts to do that, but
I don't think it hurts to do it.
We
either.
always announce them when we're, in a meeting if we decide to do it, and
So
all right,
why don't we go ahead and just,
doesn't hurt.
we'll go ahead and throw it on there after we vote here, I guess. All those in favor of adding a special BOCC meeting for an executive session,
Any second.
signify by saying aye.
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 I.
If you could add an aye, we'll do that right at the end today then to consider that.
And that's all I have, sir.
Okay. And we have minutes from October 4th, 5th, 19th, and February 16th.
I would move that we accept the minutes from October 4, 5, 19, and February 16.
I'll second.
Yeah, I did have a motion on the floor to accept the minutes from October 4th, 5th, 19th, and February 16th. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. I'm not sure needed discussion, but
I didn't see any reason to.
I tried hard to find something that I believe was in error and I couldn't do it.
Well,
Good job.
you still have time. I've got some more coming up. so.
You're catching up.
Leaps and bounds here. All
No,
right,
good job, Kel.
Commissioner items, Commissioner Farr.
Thank you, sir. I've got a couple of items besides my calendar. I'll just go through that. Got 3 or 4 things. We did talk about this a little bit, but I wanted it on the record. I did attend a Zoom meeting with a company called Granicus on their sales pitch for short-term rental tracking. I have a general feeling that that's maybe something we ought to consider after setting through that. So I'd like to put that on an agenda at some point so we can have consideration of contracting with Granicus, for lack of a better word. I don't really know that I'm all in on it yet, but I think we ought to have a conversation about it.
For advertising, is that what you're saying?
No, for tracking short-term rentals in the county.
Okay.
Based on what I saw, I believe that there's some value in that.
But we need to see it.
So, yeah, and I think if you're in agreement to put that on an agenda, then I will reach out to that gal and have her at least send you that slide set so that you can look at that, or
Let's do that, because then we can decide whether. we really-
could invite her to a meeting. Either one doesn't matter.
I believe I had problems getting to the link
Did you? Okay.
after that meeting, so.
Well, if you feel like it's something you wanted to follow up on, I'm willing to reach out and see if we can get that made available. Again, I don't have a dog in the fight, really. I don't care about Granicus. I just think that,
Well, let's just take a look at it. We
Yeah.
can Decide whether
There's,
we need to have an agenda item with it
I
later.
think we've got a pretty big hole in tracking of short-term rentals.
And I didn't see, was there a link with it? I
I
didn't.
thought there was a link or
Doesn't matter.
a recording of it or something that I was.
Okay, well, anyway, so then on the 20th, I also attended a recycling volunteer appreciation get together down in West Cliff at the back room on Kathy Snow's property. I think High Country Recycling organized that just to say thanks to the volunteers that have been helping with those 3 organizations, of which one of ours is included, obviously, on Custer County Recycling. So that was nice. I think people appreciate being appreciated. So on the 22nd, I attended the scholarship night at the high school. Wow, counselor's name just went out of my brain. Puts that on every year.
Troy?
Troy
Baumgartner.
Baumgartner, thank you, yeah. Has a night where organizations that want to give scholarships can go and present to those seniors their opportunities. And so I was there for the Briggs Scholarship. I was out there for something that's on the agenda today, but it was for the Briggs Scholarship. So it's nice. He does a great job with that. And so that was my calendar. I had a couple other items I wanted to bring up, if you don't mind, sure. Let me get back to that, Doc. We had included in our motion in August, when we made the motion to go to a 4-day week, we had included in the motion that we would reevaluate that for 6 months. So 6-month time frame is here. We didn't say what day in 6 months, we just said 6 months. So I spoke to Braden about that a little bit, and he indicated that his intent was to put out a little survey to the courthouse employees to try to get a feel for how they feel about that. And so I just wanted to get that up on the table, make mention of that, that we probably ought to schedule that on an agenda item as well in the near future and have a discussion about that. How we want.
I think that's a good idea. I was gonna bring it up too, not today. And I think we need to get, maybe make a notice, because it affects the public. Public ought to have, if there's any qualms on it, an input.
Yeah, I
think there
think
is.
that's a good idea. I don't know why I was under the assumption that we got very little feedback in that 2-week comment period from the public, but Braden said, no, they had over 100 responses. And, Lisa was kind of in on that conversation as well, and so I didn't realize, or I didn't remember having that, in my opinion, that good of a response. So I do think we ought to make sure
EIO thing,
we put the notice out or a press release out that we're gonna have.
we'll reevaluate.
So just a thought thing. Then the other thing I wanted to bring up so we could have a discussion of it today is the use of our boardroom. I know Bill was somewhat agitated yesterday when I was here on his scheduled day. So I think we need to have a conversation about how we move forward with that.
Yeah, I wasn't being agitated. I was agitated the other day when not only people were coming and going, Dorothy was trying to get a meeting in here at the same time. They're dragging the flag out of here. And that was on my day. And not what we set up initially was to make sure that somebody was here, because we got a lot of things we do, and free up the other two guys. I having one person here is all we need in person. I mean, the big deal is the telephone works and any one of us can be reached, but that's hard when somebody wants to wander in or wants to know, have a question off the street. I think it's a good thing. Well, I like doing it, and I think it's worth doing, but we need to respect that time. It's hard to have a heart-to-heart conversation with somebody that might be complaining about the road and bridge, and you got a road and bridge guy sitting in here at the same time. That's the only point I'm trying to make. Or any other option, and they need some privacy. Just not an office.
No, but it is the only space we have for an office. Other than our,
And that's okay. We can have the time to sit here.
so. And we did set it up so that we had the coverage here. And my initial
And not-
thoughts on that was because I was concerned about having more than one of us in the room at the same time. I have changed my viewpoint on that to some degree. There's no issue with us being in the same room at the same time, as long as we're not taking care of business together. So if there are two of us here together,
That's the problem.
it is not a problem.
No, I'm just saying that's my problem.
Yeah.
You can have your opinion and he can have his,
So,
so that's fine.
uh,
To me, it's a problem when I have somebody that wants to talk to me about an issue and have it be public at the same time. You don't have to have it that way.
and if we have those types of conversations, I'm sure that if someone else is in here, they would be more than willing to step out.
That's correct. That's
So,
why I talked to Tom yesterday.
so I think my opinion would be that,
Just have to
because I've
respect
come in
that.
as well, that on both of your guys' different days and been here. But if there needs to be a private conversation between you and someone who comes in or whatever, I'm more than happy to step out and
See, I just don't want to waste your time, my time, or Tom's time. We got, the whole issue is we got a lot of other things we do. If three of us are sitting here at the same time, it's just a conglomeration of things that I could be going doing something else. Or you could, or Tom could. That's the issue that I have. So that is what it is. So you guys are free to do what you want, but that's my opinion.
Well, I certainly didn't get the feeling that I was free to be in here yesterday after the dressing down that you gave me for being here on your day and infringing upon your privacy. If privacy is that big of a deal, then I guess transparency goes out the window.
No.
I have been in here for 5 years and have people come in and want to talk to me about county business with other people in here. When I think it's appropriate, I said, well, let's step outside and just talk about that.
And that's all I did.
I think that initially I was the one that said, I think we need to have somebody in here every day.
Right.
After being chastised for me being in here every day. If we as a group feel that if one of us is in here, the other two have no business being in here, then I guess that's the way it is. I don't agree with that. I don't think it's appropriate. I think we can function as mature adults. I would be more than willing to step out anytime if there needs to be a private conversation. The only way I or any of us would know that is if the commissioner said, would you mind giving us the room? Because I need to have a conversation in private with this individual. I don't have a problem with that. I'd step out anytime, not a big deal. But at the same time, my opinion is that all three of us should have availability of this boardroom / office anytime we want it, regardless. We have made a conscious effort to move meetings out of here because it was infringing, but I don't see how us being in here doing our job is infringing at all. So I disagree with Commissioner Kander where he's coming from. If we need to vote on it, to say, hey, if it's not your day, don't come in here, then that's goes to a vote. I'm fine with that. But I had business to do in here yesterday. I was in and out, was out all afternoon. So last Tuesday you came in. I enjoyed you being here. We had a chance to visit, bounce ideas off each other. The law says that we cannot get together outside of a public meeting and make decisions. It does not say we cannot be in the same room together. That's ludicrous. So that's the conversation I wanted to have. I want it very clear today how we're going to move forward.
I'm not gonna argue with you, Tom. I'm done talking about it. We do our business. And if there's something that somebody comes up and it means that it's gotta go to the board, it's my job to bring it to the board. And that's it. And then when we set this up originally, I agreed to do exactly what you said. I had understood it that way. It was, we were gonna make sure somebody was here. So if somebody wanted to talk to one of us, that's fine. I don't care if somebody's in here. It bothers me when I'm trying to do something and everybody keeps coming and going. This is not a private office to do that. No other commissioners in any county I know of sit together like a board every day of the week. It's just not in the cards. So I'll come and go. And I'll be here for sure on the days I said I would be here, just like you guys are. If I'm here on the other day and for some other reason, that's fine. I'll come by. So I'll just leave it at that.
So I think that sounds to me like we have a consensus that we will be here on our appointed days, but if we come in on someone else's day, there is not a problem with that. There needs to be a private meeting. We can be asked to step out, or the one wanting the meeting can step out either way, however they choose to do that at that time. Does that sound?
Works for me. I'm operating.
Okay.
That's all I had, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Gander.
I don't have anything to add, except I have one big deal to add, and that is I want to thank the Sangre de Cristo Electric Association for what they did during the big blizzard of February to X. What day was that? That was Thursday or whenever it was, the snow hit or the winds hit. Tore down 13 power poles along Macy Lane. And in my district, it impacted everybody just about in that district, not quite everybody, but it was amazing that it happened. It was what was remarkable in those 120-mile-an-hour winds, and that's what it was clocked, a little more than that at Lisa and Alan Avery's place, and it ripped off a 30 by 36 by 36 steel building that he had for a storage room and a shop and a chicken coop attached to his main barn, and it looked like it was rolled up in a ball. And so it had to be a wind switch twister kind of an action that did that. And it was the only place that got hammered that bad. There were 23 other residences that were damaged in that wind. As a matter of fact, two guys on the road crew, after they came out to help me move the roof of the Amish chicken coop out there off the Macy Lane to get it out of the way. Went back and got on Hermit and we're following a camper trailer with one axle on it. And they watched that camper trailer get picked up, twisted over and smashed. We didn't take the pickup over. And so it was a miracle that somebody wasn't hurt. The wind switched, blew that chicken coop across to the west, and when I came back to go take a neighbor down to the hospital for other reasons, it had switched and it blew that roof back across the road and onto the east side by a couple hundred yards. Those guys worked in that, and they restored not only the power poles and they strung the line, but they had power going at 2 o'clock, I think it was roughly in the morning. 12 hours or 10 hours deal. That was a miracle. And some of the people's, they had it staged for trucks out of Sliding up here and the crew up here with Chad Lockhart, digging and working all night long is amazing. So I want to thank the effort for the citizens of this county. It was great. Just let everybody know. That's all I have.
All right. Yeah, that was pretty quick turnaround on that. I would agree.
Well, it happened on Christmas 2 years ago, or in 16 or whenever it was, and it took 2 weeks. Well, it was more trap holes down Mason.
Yeah, quite a few more. Well, I'm still attending the Florence Fire meetings, and they're progressing slowly, but not ready to talk to us yet about picking up what more on the EMS yet. I keep getting hopeful that they're gonna finish filling their crews and get some of their crew quarters done, but they hit snags just like everybody else, I guess. Also was in attendance at the Attainable Housing Board meeting on the 21st. They subsequently, I think the board went before Silver Cliff, but there was not a quorum there at the planning commission there that night. So they have not moved forward with that yet on the any kind of approval from Silver Cliff. And then I was at the UCOG board meeting in Canyon City. One of the things visited about down there that day was also the 7 lots that we have for self-help housing. And Max Hansen has been in contact with the sheriff. We may have some deputies that will put in applications for that. I know he has one that's been one approval that's already let me try that again. We have one application that's already been completely through and approved for the self-help housing up here, not through the sheriff's office, but there's interest in those from the sheriff's office and I believe from the school. So hopefully we can get 7 approved applications on that to move forward with that. He requires at least 4 to get the process moving. They have to have 4 approved to start the builds. And then I would like to say, I believe that today is Becky's last day over here in the courts. Since I've been here, she's been a real pleasure to work around. Sorry to see her go. I know she's kind of expanding her horizons there in moving, getting a little more responsibility and things. So I'm happy for her. Sad to see her go, but if you want to take a moment sometime today before she's gone and just let her know, because today's her last day, I think.
Yeah, Mayor, sir.
Yes, sir.
Pretty child.
Christine scheduled a little going away social thing for her. I wrote it down. When I fell out of town.
Right there.
Yeah, I think we all got an email about it, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
There it is.
So Thursday the 9th, that's why I was thinking it was next week. It's a week and a half from now. Yeah, Thursday the 9th at 3:00. Thank you, Jennifer. Appreciate that. I guess. Didn't really say where, but I'm assuming it'll be in the break room or the courthouse or courtroom, one of the two, but. So today was her last official day, but because they have this jury trial, she'll be here probably through the end of the week. So, and if I may, sir, I don't know why I completely blew by the 21st, of which you mentioned about the Silver Cliff Planning Commission meeting and the Attainable Housing Board. And then also I attended the weed board meeting on that same day at Kirkpatrick Bank. You know, we had closed this room down for meetings and had some suggestions for other places for people to meet. Well, we met up at the Kirkpatrick Bank building in their conference room, very nice conference room. Unfortunately, there's absolutely no internet there. They're on very private, secure Wi-Fi system, so you can't go up there and conduct business if you need Wi-Fi. So we probably will not be going back up there, but very nice conference table in there. They don't charge for that room, so it's nice. But I wanted to speak to the Silver Cliff Planning Commission meeting. I did attend that after we sat in on the Attainable Housing Board. I looked to Commissioner Kanda and maybe yourself, because I've lived here for 36 years and I don't know the name of that building where we met. I know it as the lettuce shed from back in the 50s and 60s.
What I call it.
I call it that, but that doesn't work. So I don't know. I think there is a name for it, but I sure as heck don't. I'd have to go back and look at that invite to see what they
I
call
think they
it.
referred to it as in the basement of the Round Mountain Building.
Okay, yeah. So there's 3 or 4 different entities in that building and I don't know, but, so yeah, I did attend that planning, commission meeting in Silver Cliff. It was, somewhat bizarre. Steve Laswell gave the presentation on behalf of the Attainable Housing Board. And their big ask to the planning commission was to replat those lots that the county owns from 50 by 100 foot to 33 by 100 foot, so that they could increase the density on workforce housing. And it was all over the map. Everybody had opinions and none of them really seemed to line up. And it was kind of a strange and somewhat frustrating meeting.
So what
The
happened?
planning commission didn't appear to have a problem with replatting the plots, the lots. But they made it very clear that all their job was to make a recommendation to the trustees. And the trustees voted on it. At the planning commission, I said, understood completely. We operate the same way at the county level, so I understand that. Eventually, out of somewhat frustration, I said, what is it going to take for the planning commission to make a recommendation? Well, we have to hear the presentation. And I said, well, I think we just sat through the presentation. Steve Laswell just laid it out. And they did not have a quorum, so we all understood they weren't going to make a decision that night. But I said, well, you know, these guys are putting a lot of hours in this. We need some kind of closure or some kind of direction about what's next. We can't just say there's not a quorum and meet again unless you want them to come and present again. I said, I don't know if there's anything different to present, but I said, I'm not on the committee. I'm just representing the county. And it was just odd that they couldn't really tell the Affordable Housing Committee, who works on our behalf, what else they needed to do in order for the Planning Commission to go to the trustees with a recommendation to approve the rezoning. So they finally, out of some frustration, just said, you know what, we'll just leave it the way it is. We just stick with the 12 lots instead of resizing those lots to make 18 out of it. So I think that's where the Affordable or Attainable Housing Committee is at now. The board, they're just going to press on with 12 lots. They don't have to ask permission to do anything. So it's certainly the cleanest way to go. Unfortunately, it's not very efficient because obviously the economies of scale, the developer could go in there and build 18 units a lot more efficiently than they could build 12. But, I think that's probably where the affordable housing is going to go from here. They have a meeting scheduled, I think, tomorrow.
I know there's one on the 6th.
Maybe it's next week. Yeah. So I don't know. It was a little bizarre.
You want to send that around the time, Dave?
Yeah.
We had an email on it.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I'll get it sent to you.
Yeah.
And so a little consternation on that board, among the board as well. So I would just let you guys know that up front. So
Yeah, they're
so
working through
there's
some
internal struggles.
growing
as well.
pains, it sounds like, but and then if I may, sir, I meant to bring this up because I had a conversation with Bill Christie, our interim OEM today. This is the language that goes in the emergency operations plan. I read through it. It's set here for a week or so. He needs these back because we have a meeting coming up, but if you want to look through this today, if you see anything that you believe we need to change, we can give those changes to him. I didn't see it. It's
I looked
almost
at it
like
the other day.
boilerplate language. So
What it was before, and I asked him if there's any big changes in him.
if you want to look at it, fine. If not, he asked me to return it to him as soon as possible within the next day or two. So.
You got it between meetings today.
Okay, I'll leave it here for you then. Thank you. I appreciate the extra time.
Okay. Anything else from you, sir?
Nothing for me.
All righty. Jennifer. You have anything for us?
The only thing that I have is that you popped your head in this morning and just wanted to remind everyone that we do have a jury trial. And things get amplified. And so if we get told, that's why she didn't want to make sure that you all knew. So if you decide to get rowdy
So
and
be
have a
quiet.
party, we may need to shut the door.
All right, thank you. And that takes us up to public comment. So if anyone has any comment they would like to make about something not on the agenda, please feel free to do so.
Kevin.
Yes.
Hey, this is Jordan Hedberg. One of the things I do commend you in particular is I do think commissioners should be able to meet, in a non-public meeting to discuss day-to-day business. The laws are very clear that as long as decisions are not being made, then you guys can be in the same room, meet, chance encounters, stuff like that. And I do think that you're trying to discuss everything in commissioners meetings is, it's set up in a very formal way, but it's hard to get to the base of things. I like workshops, even without public comment, because I think it's a way for all of you to get on the same page. It's still in the public, but I do think discourse and conversation are part of the sunshine laws that they do make allow day-to-day business to be discussed like that. So that was just my 2 cents though.
Thank you. Anyone else? Not seeing any hands. Okay. Any unfinished business, gentlemen?
I have none.
None.
All right. First item under new business would be the consideration of AP and payroll.
We accepting these separately.
Good morning.
Yes.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Good morning. Hi, nice to see you.
And let's see, the first thing you had here was
Payroll.
out of cycle. That's actually not on there, but that should be AP and out of cycle checks. Because the payroll is only
Right.
a report, so. I guess,
AP first, since it's listed,
okay,
and we'll add out of cycle, right?
I would like to add out of cycle because that is one for approval.
Okay, so I move we accept the, you want to do the AP report first?
Yes, accounts payable,
Mhm.
so you're moving
Move to
to,
accept the accounts payable report.
okay, I will second. Discussion,
I do.
There's some.
What a surprise.
Let me pull that up, and I have discussion, it absolutely does not pertain to Miss Lisa.
okay,
Well, that's comforting.
Thank you, thank you. Let me grab that, Doc, I've got too many things open here. Just a second. And it goes back to, I asked for clarification, by the way, from Lisa's office this morning. She did a great job with that, but I wanted to bring something up to us as commissioners. I kind of freaked out when I saw the jail payroll and jail out of cycle or AP. I get the AP stuff. I just did not have my mind wrapped around that we would continue that kind of a payroll load with the jail after we close the jail down. And I just made a note on my agenda that we probably need to have a discussion with the sheriff when he comes over and just talk about that. I don't know if you had a chance to look at the payroll or not, doesn't matter. I looked at it and went, holy crap. So anyway, I wanted to bring that up. And then I also asked Lisa about a couple of payments, and I want to bring that to the commissioner's attention. She did a great job of answering my question, but we have an annual payment to SBA Structures for a tower. And if I had to defend that, I wouldn't be able to do it because I don't know about that. I may have known about it at one time, but I couldn't do it today. So, and then we also have a BLM payment. And I think both of those were billed as Deer Mountain, if I remember. I
Yeah,
know one of them was.
the one, the DOI BLM payment that was like the $4,500 one.
That was Deer Mountain.
Yes, yes.
Which again, it's ignorance on my part, I'm sure. I had no idea we had a tower we were paying for on Deer Mountain. Or Deer
I would
Peak.
say Deer Peak.
Deer Peak.
Is what I
Now Lookout Mountain, yeah, whole nother ballgame.
Where is that? I don't see it. Where are you talking?
Oh, let me pull it up
I
here.
see it.
Again, I've
It's not
got,
on the AP report that we're supposed to be discussing. I don't see it.
yep, it's on.
Is it on there?
there? Give me just.
Maybe I don't recognize it. Emergency management, road and bridge, public service.
Let me refer to my notes because I have the
Sheriff's,
page down. Give me just a second if you would. That is on page. SBA is on page 18.
I was looking at the,
We're on AP, right?
the approval, yes.
SBA structures, $260.84.
$60. And when we get that invoice, it just says site rent. So
Yeah.
the tower sets on a pad. And then there's a fence around that pad. And I believe that's what we're paying for.
And then maybe part of my confusion is this, when somebody says to me Deer Peak. I've always thought that was all the towers on Deer Peak. Out by Centennial Ranch at the Four Corners.
That is correct.
Okay. Lookout Mountain
Is up here.
has been called everything under the sun. I've always tried to defer to Lookout Mountain. And then Deer Mountain Fire, I believe we share a tower with them. I don't know. I had said maybe this morning it was Deer Peak, I meant Deer Mountain. But that's
This said,
Deer
he
Mountain.
said Deer Peak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so if it really means Deer Peak, then I am confused, because I had no idea Lee County had any part of a tower at the top of Deer Peak up by Old Corner. Were you doing what I thought you might have been doing, Miss Kelly?
No.
Okay. So I was just a little confused about that.
That
I
may-
thought we cleaned everything up on those towers, that we weren't paying anybody anything to have a tower for Custer County.
I think the
We're
Deer
still-
Peak one's different.
It is. We're still doing the one out here with,
Out where?
on Lookout Mountain.
Yeah, I'm not talking about Lookout Mountain, I'm talking about Deer.
You said all town.
Oh.
Anyway, the Deer Peak one, we've always, I've been aware of it. I've never cared about it. We've always had it.
Boy, I sure didn't know it.
And that may be a Vernon question. We may actually still be renting the tower site and subleasing it like we do out here. I don't know that.
You know, that could be what it is, but I thought that was Lookout Mountain. I didn't think that was Deer Peak. I don't know. So
So,
All right.
Vernon's at a training today, so I'm sure he's not listening, but anyway, those two things I thought, if nothing else, I need to get educated on. And I know we do sublease stuff, but I believe that was up on Lookout Mountain, wasn't it, Kevin?
we do
Yeah.
sublease
So
to
I
these up
believe
here.
I've seen a folder for that tower agreement.
on Deer
In
Peak,
the Deer Peak, I believe so. I'm gonna go, when I go back, I'm gonna go and
I'll
look,
look too, I've got it.
because I think for some reason, Donna had kept all of that, just the agreements and all that information, and it's in that back records area. So I'll go back and look again and see.
So Kelly, when you file, do you file as quote unquote tower agreements, or are they specifically filed as a Deer Mountain, Lookout Mountain, individual entities? How would your files look?
No, those are just like those tower agreements are just under
Separate.
commissioners, I
Okay.
think. I can find that.
Because I mean, I know Sangre de Cristo gave up their tower site to us. They didn't want to deal with that anymore. Colorado Century Telecoms got equipment up there. TV stations got equipment up there. Unfortunately, that's about the end of my specific knowledge, and I've been in that building, so I don't know.
I believe
Hilltop. And I think those are the companies we sublet and bill to, and that's the other thing that you may or may not be part of. We bill those other entities and they pay us. So
And
that's
that
another
Deer- that
conversation.
Deer
Yeah,
Peak
yeah, it
one,
is.
I think they use, like emergency services use it. It's down this way. I know enough to
Deer
do the
Mountain.
address. Deer Mountain.
Yeah.
Yes,
Right,
Deer Peak, Deer Mountain.
yeah. See, that's why I brought it up, because I always think Deer Peak is clear up on the
Yeah,
top of the east hills. Deer Mountain, I do believe we share
yes.
with them. And then, of course, we have our tower on Bertamont, and then our sublets up on Lookout Mountain. So, but we do need to bill out those other entities.
So that's an issue we can talk about, but this is, let's either prove the report or not, maybe make that an item to go have a special meeting with or put it on an agenda item. So we gotta vote,
Yeah.
just be my recommendation,
Um,
finish. We got.
So-
on the floor.
Those were the two questions I had for her this morning, and again, got those answered.
I have one.
Do ya?
I didn't get to you in it beforehand, otherwise I would have taken care of it then. Page 8, the 401A forfeiture. That is
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
just a question, that is.
We're in power. Can you see it?
I do, I'm looking at it, and Nat Braden entered. And because Braden still does the retirement portion. So I can't remember, I want to say it was we might have overpaid. So when it's in parentheses like that,
Right.
it would just,
I saw it as yeah,
yeah,
Deducted in that.
Yeah. deducted it from the current payment that was pulled from all the employees, and then one will cancel out the other. But I can get clarification on that.
and
for
that's
you.
fine, I was assuming it was probably something along those lines. Or
Yeah, I believe
didn't-
that's what it
But I
was.
didn't know.
Where's Brady?
He's back in his cell, working hard.
I
He's
just,
he's doing hard time.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just hadn't seen that before, so that.
No, and neither had I, and I did ask him briefly last week when I noticed it, and I believe that's what it was for. It was just an overpayment, and then it just balanced itself
Okay.
out.
That's good. Any other discussion or questions on the AP?
No, sir.
All right, those in favor of approving the accounts payable signify by saying aye.
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 And then if we would go back to the out of cycles,
I would move that we approve the out of cycle checks in the amount of $13,628.05.
I'll second.
look on the floor to approve the out of cycle checks for $13,628.05. Any discussion on that?
I want to thank Lisa for dealing with the Eric Davis
Oh, you're welcome.
invoice. Thank you that we had missed that, so it was a month over, and I asked her specifically if we could make sure that happened this month, because we missed it last month. And that was for the labor for the flooring in the break room. So appreciate that.
Yeah.
Any from you, sir? Who's in favor of approving the out of cycle checks in the amount of $13,628.05? Signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Okay. I think that does it.
Yeah, I did have a comment to make about the payroll. Okay. Which we're not gonna deal with officially, right?
It
That's
doesn't
just a
have to be
report.
approved, yes.
Yeah. That's, but I had a comment about that, and I also talked to Lisa and Braden about this morning. When I went through the payroll, I thought there was a glaring omission. And that was paying our airport manager. And so we discussed that. I thought we moved all those contract folks to employees. That is not the case. I'm not sure why that's not the case, but apparently, when Brian Anderson or your office, I'm not sure which, reached out to Bob McDonald for some information or whatever, didn't get that, so.
Mhm.
I think currently we're still handling that as a contract labor.
Yeah.
Part of the reason was for benefits, because we didn't need them. They're trying to keep the costs down.
Right, well, there were two reasons why I believe that it's been postponed a little bit. We've been advised any kind of time when you're taking someone from a contract employee to an actual full-time or part-time employee for the county. We have to just follow the procedures, do it the right way. And then the second part of that was Brian Anderson had reached out to find some clarification with Bob and it was inconclusive. So we're just kind of waiting, biding our time, and we're trying to get some answers. And he was actually in our office last week. And so we should be moving on that in the near future.
So the airport manager is still getting paid
Mhm.
as a contract labor,
Mhm.
not as employees.
Yep. Yes, he is.
I think we had agreed we were gonna try to move all those away from contracts, right?
Mhm.
That's all I had.
All right.
Thanks.
Have a great
Ma'am.
day. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Anytime.
later.
We'll see you. Have a good day.
Next item would be the consideration of moving forward with the Justice Center. And do we have anything in our packet on that? The other day we had this as an item of discussion. And decided we would like to have it on the agenda so we could make an official decision on that.
Would you like me to put the stuff from the past meeting in your discussion in this packet?
No,
But I think we're good.
so if we need a motion, I'll move that we continue working and we'll call it the Justice Center. Because we have the underfunded courts grant, and I don't have the number in my mind, but it's 36,000 or 70, whatever it is.
Yeah, 32, 5.
Right, and with that amount to continue the work at developing the courts that are part of the future justice system. So we're taking it one block at a time. So I would move that we accept or that we continue that path and work with the courts. Part of.
So your motion is that we move forward with the Justice Center.
Grant money that we currently have been awarded and allowed to use through December 31st of 2023.
Okay, I would second. Discussion.
Well, I think for me, the big question is what that will look like moving forward.
We need a committee. People define.
That was gonna be part of my discussion here. I think we did have some names the other day when we were visiting about this, the Sheriff Smith, Lisa Rowe. Becky now is leaving, but if she would be available for some of that, I think she has some good knowledge from it. Mike Halpin, Mr. Beltman, and Lisa Hunter.
Or they all, I noticed most of them responded to. You know.
I believe there were a couple that's. Oh,
Development
my
is-
bad, I was,
So did Lisa. Lisa wanted Zoom. Is she on now?
Lisa had another appointment and sent a message saying, have another meeting that takes priority. I support continuing to move forward with the Judicial Center. Feel free to reach out. And then also note that George Beltman is online right now.
Yeah, I think a committee is a reasonable way to go. I would encourage us not to do the same thing we did last time and expect the committee to carry this initiative forward. I think that's our job. I think we need to chair those meetings. We need to be involved in that, whether it's individually or as a group. I know there was some frustration last year about the commissioner not leading the charge on that. And I think it was by de facto ended up. I think that committee felt like they're the ones that had to lead the charge, and I'm not interested in doing it. I won't be part of that again. I just think that's wrong. I think we need to use this committee for advice. And then we take charge of presenting and promoting this to the community, if that's what we decide we want to do.
Yeah, and in that light, I would volunteer to accept that, pushing on that if you want, one of us to lead it, that be that or you, I don't care who does it, but I think somebody ought to be the lead on it. And then when we get issues, we bring it and make a decision. We can use it that in either one or two of us, or all three of us in the meeting at the same time, as long as we publish it. It's a meeting, make decisions with.
Yeah, I certainly appreciate your willingness to volunteer. I think I'm just throwing out some thoughts that I've had about this. So I think if we have any community forums, that all three of us need to be there. We need to run those forums. We need to answer, stand up and answer the hard questions. And if we need to defer to a committee member for some assistance, I don't think that's wrong. But I want no part of what happened to Judge Hunter at Tony's Pizza last year. I will not be a part of that again. It was absolutely unacceptable. So I will commit to being involved in that and showing up to those public hearings or whatever we do. So
I agree.
I think, yeah, I would agree as well that we all need to be there as much as all three of us can be. And to fill those, to move this forward. Because there was a disconnect last time around. Very much so. So
how do you guys feel about if Bill's gonna volunteer to do that? To chair that committee meeting? We have a resolution that says we cannot be on a board, but there's no language in there about being on a committee. Personally, I think it sets the tone that the commissioners, this is a commissioner driven thing.
It's really not a committee then. It's really a function that we have. Just
Yeah,
like
it could
we
be an
do.
advisory group or.
well,
Or we call it a committee and
it would probably be a committee, but it would actually be for lack of anything else, I guess it'd be a special BOCC meeting for the Justice Center.
Yeah.
In a sense,
I would.
Yeah,
because we would all be there. And that
Well,
way,
we-
if there
yeah.
were decisions to be made.
It should
there
be.
and
We're gonna
we were
make
all in
decisions.
attendance, we could do that.
And we're publishing any meeting like that anyway.
no, we don't. It's published the news board, they just. meet.
No, I'm talking about the ones that we are knowing that one or two or more would be there.
So,
That's what the process has been.
We have started publishing those where multiple commissioners are gonna be at. I think, yeah, if you would be willing to take on that role and to chair those, that would be great.
I'll do it.
And coordinate, so that'd be coordination between the volunteers on that committee and stuff as well. So,
it may be semantics. Would we want to rename that to an advisory group?
Let's
Or
let the people, let's
advisory
talk,
committee
let's
or-
get together and discuss it. I think if people, it's still a justice, it will be, we want to design it for the future. It is going to be a justice center. We've got ground, we call it the justice center. And it's not confusing, and we are dealing with just the courts. We're not going to go to the voters with anything other than court issues if we do take something to the voters or if we do raise bonds right now, because we don't need the jail right now.
And so I looked at this agenda item was that the three of us are going to make a decision whether or not to move forward. We're not gonna ask the committee if we should move forward. We're gonna make that decision.
That's right.
And we're gonna ask
That is
them
our-
for help.
that is
Is
our
that-
decision.
That's right, it's our decision.
And then,
I
and
thought
then-
we were talking about naming the group then.
Yeah, well, I just threw that out. If,
yeah,
to me, I don't like this language, but I think it's appropriate. I'm thinking the more we rebrand this effort, the better off we're gonna be, so it doesn't look like it's the same old stuff. That's the
So
only reason I
that's a
brought that.
matter of PR and making sure they understand it's a court we're dealing with,
well, I think
rebranding.
But I'm not hung
it
up
was
on
referred to a
those
minute ago in the email, I believe, as the judicial center.
Okay, that's a start.
So,
Right.
so, and I would assume that we would, if we're going to move forward, the list, short list that we had here would be a good starting point. Is that correct?
It is, and Mr. Chairman, if I may, I'd like to respect George Veltman's time and interest and see if could we ask him for some comments?
That's
He's been on
just
here.
about where I was
Okay.
going as soon as we finished up here at the table here.
Am I on?
You are now.
On, sir. Go ahead. I was just looking around to make sure we didn't have other comments here. So George, go ahead, sir.
Well, when I started the committee, to be honest, I thought it was the commissioner's call and we were just there to help. But I didn't worry about, whether everybody was there all the time, because there's a lot that goes on. I think we, as I wrote in a little email, we kind of dropped the ball as far as getting funding from the state and a few other things in that area. And I hope that perhaps that can do it. And I do think we need to get back in, and we did, when I first started that, we did have a plan for redoing the courtroom originally and just kind of fixing up the jail a little bit. I don't know if we still have to have prisoners every once in a while. It seemed like they can't haul them down there all the time. But anyway, I think that the commissioners being there is helpful. And I also suggested in there that maybe a few of the people in the community that really didn't seem to understand what we were doing should be involved in this group. I mean, a lot of us, when we went into it, were not in favor of it. And once you saw what needed to be done, it's pretty obvious we got to do something somewhere. So I'd be willing to help and however we can, but I agree, we need some other people in there and we need to kind of rebrand it, I guess is a good term. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, George.
Yeah, George, appreciate those comments. And part of some of the comments I received back from people who did not support that, one of their reasons was they didn't feel the commissioners were really all in on the deal. And I think that was a legitimate perspective from some people, and I think that was probably because of, as I spoke to earlier, our lack of really leading the charge, in my opinion, on that. So I don't necessarily believe that all three of us have to be at every committee meeting to demonstrate that we're all in on it. Would you guys agree with that statement? Our schedules, who knows, but I think we also, if we have a committee, we need to allow that committee to do their work with what they're charged with, for sure.
That's right.
And you bring up a good point, George. These 6 names that we bandied about the other day, to me, were kind of a core beginning, and I think we do need to invite some community members to be on that committee as well. Would you agree with that, George?
Yes, I think some outside input is very helpful. I mean, we need to understand why we didn't do things. I mean, it all came down to money, really. I think it's an expensive project any way you look at it. So I think we ought to get the state or somebody to help fund us. And that's, I looked into the funding, and everything I looked into was grants and loans, and they all kind of required the populace to support it, which means you had to have it voted in, and then they would give you money. But if our representatives see what we really need, perhaps, funding for the county is terrible. That budget out of the state would be pretty small. So I would like to see the commissioners or somebody get involved in getting our representatives to help us fund it.
I same thought was when we agreed this was just a core, we get started to have a discussion today. Was there interest to continue? Yes, there is. It'll be that group sit down and figure out who subdivided into partial pieces. I like what George just said about getting the representatives behind it. We didn't do a lot of that last time. We let too much of the bondholders making money take on the charge, getting us a loan to do it. So
In that
things will be
regard-
different.
Oh, cool.
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. Thought you were done. In that regard too, George, after we spoke, I'm not sure, after the other got voted down, there were a couple of letters sent out to a couple of the state and reps and help trying to look for some more funding for that. They have responded to some degree, but basically gave us a list of places to go looking. Not that they actually had any funding in mind in particular for us, but I think, yes, that is something that we need to pursue as well.
Okay, I think so.
Yeah, and as a county legally, we're not in a position to just go out and borrow money. There's only certain ways we could fund this judicial center. We certainly believed last time that we did have some grant monies in line for us to try to take advantage of, but no one is going to commit to those grants until the voters approve the initiative. And that's the horse or the cart before the horse, in my opinion. It'd be nice if we could tell the voters, hey, we've got X number of dollars already secured in grant monies. They won't, that's not the way it works. You got to get a vote of approval by the voters. And then those grantors kind of make their commitment. That's what we found on this last go round. So,
Yeah.
but your points are well taken, George, and I appreciate your interest.
Well, thank you, guys. I've got to go, so let me know. I'd be happy to help any way I can.
Thanks, George.
Thank you, sir.
Take care.
Any other discussion? Okay, so I do have a motion on the floor to continue on pursuing the Justice Center and for our discussion, Bill Canada will chair those meetings and we will start with the core group that the names that we had listed.
Just one quick thought, sir. Should we have a discussion about how many people be on that committee as a total or not?
No. And the reason is because that, just like we said, there will be other ideas or be somebody out in left field. We don't want to limit it one way or the other yet. Let's let the committee do that.
Let the committee set the number or?
Well, yeah, talk about, all right, we're gonna go pursue grants and we're gonna go pursue the legislature. We're gonna do this, get different people involved and figure out
Right, I'm just trying to,
how
I'm
many.
just
it
asking,
takes.
should we put a fence around the number of people that serve on that committee? I'm not getting into what they're gonna do.
That's what I mean. You don't know, Tom, until you they have a discussion on what we think that is gonna be required before you limit it. I believe.
I think I would agree with Commissioner Canada on that might be a discussion to be had at the committee level and hit them up on that. Anything else? Any of those in favor of moving forward with the Justice Center project? Signify by saying aye. Aye.
I
Motion carries. Next item up would be consideration of co-funding the COSI scholarship.
If I may, Mr. Chair.
You may.
Thank you, sir. I requested this to be on there. COSI stands for the Colorado Opportunity Scholarship Initiative. This would be our 4th year if we vote to be involved in this. For the last 3 years, the BOCC has co-funded this with the Rotary Club. Our share, our portion of that this year would be $1,466.50. And the Rotary would pay an equal share of that, and that total would be matched by COSI, which is a group formed really through the Colorado Department of Higher Education, and some private donors throughout the state have put this pool of money together. We've done this for 3 years. Last year, Cheyenne Shy, local high school graduate, received the COSI, they just call it COSI scholarship. She is attending Mesa University, I believe, is in Grand Junction, and going to nursing. So our money was spent locally, which we believe that will happen every time we get involved. So I think it's a worthwhile thing. I checked the working balance of our community outreach fund, which is where we paid for this in the past, and so.
Let me clarify it, so I can repeat back what you said, so that we know exactly what the amount.
Hang on, read it.
Yeah,
Okay, go ahead.
So what I want to know, Tom, is you mentioned we share it with the Rotary, and then another organization is going to match that sum, right?
yeah, COSI
Yeah.
will match whatever the two entities
Got it.
here put together.
And so our portion of the two entities is 1466, or is that the two entities?
No, that's our portion.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
so Rotary is going to put up 1466.50. How do we get that number?
It's based on the number of formulas that they use on their whole pot, and they broke that out. On
They
the
do.
COSI.
So they said they would be willing to match up to that amount.
Exactly.
That's how, okay, so that's total is what? then?
Yeah, whatever that ends up being, 29, 32, 33.
2933, and
Yeah, I think so. So, yeah.
okay, so
So our share would be 1466.
all right, I'll move that we out of community outreach fund fund the COSI scholarship to the amount of $1,466.50.
I'll second that.
Okay, so I do have a motion on the floor to fund the COSI scholarship in the sum of $1,466.50 out of the community outreach fund. Discussion.
Yeah, I think the only issue here could be is if Rotary decides not to do it. Or Rotary could have the same conversation if we decided not to do it. I've talked to Troy about that, and he said if one of the two entities decides not to participate, then he would reach back out and we'd have another discussion. Do we want to go ahead and commit the funds and do it ourselves of the 1,400 or not? But he's been led to believe that both entities would probably support it. So
Does it seem if they backed out, we could still put 14,450
exactly.
in it, and then they'll match 14, just be a little less.
So if it comes back up on our desk, I just want that thrown out there that I don't believe Rotary has voted to do it yet. They didn't as of yesterday. So he said, please go under the assumption that Rotary is going to do it. So, okay. So that's all I have. And I presented this scholarship last year. Way more than welcome for one of you gentlemen to go and represent the BOCC on our behalf in May if you want. I'll do it if that's the desire, but I certainly don't need to do it either. It might be good for other commissioners to present that as well. That's all
I'm
I
good.
have, sir.
You're good. Any public comment on this? Not seeing any hands online. Okay, so those in favor of co-funding the COSI scholarship in the sum of $1,466.50 to come out of the Community Outreach Fund, signify by saying aye.
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 And Mr. Chair, can I interject, before we go any further? Braden sent a chat, you may have seen it, you may not have, I don't know, in answer to the whole forfeiture thing. And it says the forfeiture is for when employees terminate and they were not vested in the retirement. We get a portion of that money back. That invoice is how we handle that transaction. So just wanted to share that.
Thank you.
Yes, and I thanked him to return on that chat for that as well.
Next item up on our agenda then would be consideration of hiring a new county attorney. So we have, I know the names that we have been, there are some people that have been talked about and things of that nature. I would throw this out on the floor at this time and open this up for discussion.
Well, I'll just make a quick comment. We have two issues. One would be we need to hire an attorney full-time and we need to get somebody in the meantime, if we can, for special, our needs, special time. So that would, and both would require us getting names, calling people, publicizing the job description as well for a full-time guy. Process for that takes several months. I worked that with the county Association of Colorado County, Colorado Attorneys Association, County Association. And they're willing to put a word out through their organization. And then, of course, we go on the PR path on all the media that we can to ask for candidates. The other one, near term, is going to require us to do a bit more calling people to find that somebody's available part-time. It doesn't have to be the same person all the time either, but that would be desirable. Well, that's my 2 cents for now. I have called other people and asked a few thoughts. One of them was Ramsey Lama, that I think Tom brought up, that Buck had sent him a note on some time ago. And we'll run into, the reason I bring him up right now is we'll run into the same thing. He was very flattered to be asked to do that. He's gone on, he was the judicial 11th judicial district judge for a while, knows how counties do business, was energetic and loved to do it. But he's on the greener pastures right now with a law firm and doesn't have the time to do it. So the point there is we've got to make contact and work both issues at the same time if we can.
He was on my list. I was going to ask about him today. Mr. Flower.
Thank you, sir. So that you know, I have not spoken to anyone about this, not spoken to any attorney about being an interim or a permanent attorney. I think that we need to hire a full-time attorney, and we need to do that as soon as we can. I don't disagree with Commissioner Canada if we had a legal issue to reach out to an attorney for some advice. I'm not sure I'm all in on intentionally hiring an interim and then turn around and trying to hire a permanent county attorney. I would just as soon approach this as we hire a county attorney. And if we have to do whatever we have to in the meantime to get our needs met, then, I would not be opposed to that. But I'd like to see us go all in and get the process started to hire an attorney. So I know initially we talked about, let's try to come up with some names. Looking back, I'm not sure that was probably a wise approach, but I'd rather go through the process of hiring someone. This most likely would be a contract person. I think we have to probably write that vacancy notice to at least be able to explore a contract hourly or contract retainer. One of the two. I don't see how else to do that.
We did it with Clint. What was he running? 2,500 a month? Whatever it was,
Well, it was
or
3,000.
3,000.
We
So,
basically had him on a monthly retainer for
Right.
3,000. If that happens again, I will be the most amazed person in the county.
but he could.
Yeah.
We got lucky with Clint. I mean,
So,
we'd have to decide what it's worth to us. Is it
Right.
36 or 3,000, or is it 4,000, whatever it is.
yeah, I think that's a conversation we're gonna have to have, or we'll not be able to put out a vacancy
Right.
announcement without.
So do we wanna-
figures.
Rather than do that today, then it sounds like we need to do the same thing we did with the OEM and other vacancies, is let's have a workshop to make that decision, get the input. Figure out dollars. Or we can decide to advertise it first. I don't know how you can advertise it without understanding what you're gonna,
Oh, I think we gotta have.
Gotta have it.
I agree, we gotta have a dollar figure. I wondered if we could task Braden with coming up with a vacancy announcement after we give him some guidelines and some direction and say, this is what
get
we're
it in
after.
the paper.
Who knows on an hourly rate? Personally, I believe if we could hire an attorney on a retainer basis, that would be the best for us. If we hire on an hourly basis, I think we have to look at our attorney use differently than we have in the past, right? I had suggested earlier, maybe we pick one day a month that we expect the attorney to be here at a commissioner meeting and deal with legal issues. And if something arises at other times, then obviously we'd have to pay to get that legal service provided. But I don't think we can go on and expect an attorney to sit through 4-hour meetings 4 times a month and pay him $200 or $300 an hour.
No. And you sure don't want paid by the drink, because then you gotta worry about hiring them in time to do it by the drink and allocating money out of wherever. We need to have a budget and stick to it.
Well, we have quite a bit of usage through the planning and zoning as well. Researching some of this stuff, and I mean, cease and desist letters and other legal advice.
Right.
So.
So we ought to probably look and see what we think that may be cost wise, because Clint was doing it for all of it for that. I mean, is that fair to ask somebody else to do that unless they don't have anything else to do? And
Yeah, and I'm all
we
about
have to
moving
come
this
up
thing
with- we have
forward.
to have some money.
I would throw out 4,000 a month to advertise at that and see if we're getting takers.
I might even go higher than that. I'd put 5, but that's 60,000 a year. And that's probably,
These are unbudgeted dollars we're talking
I
about,
know.
right?
well,
Anything
except
over
for
3,000.
over 3,000,
Yeah,
so
3,000
that's
is what I meant.
2,000 more dollars. To get somebody to pony up, if he's depends on what else they're doing, whether they got a law, I know that there's a lot of judges around. Or judges that are retiring and other people that have taken that on as one of the jobs they do for multiple counties. And so that could happen, and they would take that on and represent us that way too. But we gotta get it out on the street. And we gotta get people to bite.
Yeah, I think we work with Braden, come up with a vacancy announcement, put a potential start date in there. What do you guys think? 1st of May? 15th April.
Yeah.
I mean, we gotta give it time to get out, you know, we can't say it's gotta be back in 2
We're
weeks, so.
starting, we've got, that would give us 4 weeks.
all of
It's gonna
March,
be,
all of April, and try
Kinda
to
good.
have it done
That-
by May.
Earlier the better.
We think, Kel? Sound reasonable?
All right, well, I move that we hire a new attorney. And work with Braden, like you said, and I would make that at 5,000 a month. Initial. We can discuss it. And aim for the 1st of May.
Yeah, I'll second that.
okay, so I have a motion on the floor to move forward with hiring a new county attorney, working with Braden in HR at the stated retainer at $5,000 per month. Any discussion?
Well, I have a little heartburn about the 5,000. I'm not saying it's not worth it. I'm a little concerned that it's unbudgeted, and I'm a little concerned that we're never gonna go backwards. Once that money, that dollar figure is thrown out, we'll probably never hire another attorney in this county for less than that. I'm not being critical, I'm just thinking about that. We might not get anybody hired for anything less either. I certainly understand that. Let's talk about 5,000 a month.
Above what we've got is 2,000.
2,000, but for a total cost of 5,000 a month, let's say. Well, to make it easy, $250 an hour, that buys us 20 hours of work. I think that sounds reasonable.
And the going rate from what my research has revealed is you're lucky to find a lawyer for 250.
Yeah, I would agree.
And
Now, I
and
would
then
caveat that with a small rural community.
that's right. And the way they handle that, they handle a couple issues, and we've got more, and we've evolved. We're not any longer just a couple zoning issues and a septic system problem. It's bigger than that now.
Your thoughts on the money?
I'd love to find another one for $3,000. I know that's not possible.
Good.
Would it be possible for us to? Well, if you advertise it at $4 to $5,000, they're gonna come in at $5,000.
Sure.
So I guess I would pull that thought back.
Yeah, you gotta advertise it for what.
We need to have, yeah, we need to advertise it for what it's gonna be. If we go out at 4, we get no responses, we've kicked it down the road at least 2 weeks. 3
Yeah,
weeks.
and that's the problem, in my opinion, Kevin, if you don't mind, of saying salary to be negotiated, that's gonna add God knows how much more time to the process. And pretty tough to budget for that until that actually happens, so.
And I do know there are people out there that would in the area. I'm talking Fremont County, Custer County, and adjoining counties that have the law firms that would probably look at this as another piece of what they do in their law firm, and so they would be allocating that time accordingly, so they can move their time around on specific things in their law firm with other people and give us the time at 5,000 a month. That's a pretty good part-time addition for. And that's how they talked to me on some of the phone calls I'm in.
And so this money would come from, if we went with $5,000, this money would come from where?
It has to come out of general fund.
Right, and that's a good question to ask Braden. But and we've already got the 3,000 budgeted, so that's covered. And what else? Our revenues seem to have gone up this last year because the housing market still is what it is. Enough to cover that. That's buried down the line.
By the time we bring someone on, we'd be looking at an additional
This year would be
8,000. Probably.
So Yeah, we can cover it. That's another way of looking at it.
Well, yeah, May to December,
That's
7 months, 14,000.
7 months, Jim.
So 14,000 there. If we had no need for someone between now and then, we would be saving the 3,000, so you could probably knock that down. So,
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, we're not spending that now.
but your point's well taken. Once you set a bar, that bar never goes backwards.
And I'm gonna vote to move this forward. I'm just. I don't want to be a cheapskate about it, but I want to be fiscally responsible. How would you feel about starting at $4,000? Obviously, you made a motion, so I know you probably don't agree with that, or you would have said
I don't
4,000.
think it's worth quibbling over $1,000. That's for 7 months. That's $7,000. And then budget time, we work in other things that we wouldn't fund next year, so I think we can cover it. And we should.
Anything else here at the table?
Good, I gotta get some, that's. Gonna be good.
Any discussion from the room or online?
Well, I was hoping Braden might weigh in, but I'm not sure he's. Yeah,
Braden, are you there?
Doesn't have a mind.
He had an attorney appointment today, so he may still be wrapped up in that.
Okay.
You know, part of me says.
Mr.
hey,
Chair.
Yes.
Before Braden goes on, this is Jordan Hedberg. One of the things that you guys can do instead of just, most small counties actually just have a retainer. So you select a county attorney and you set like how much money that you give them. You could set it a monthly budget, but you don't actually have to go out there and list, say, $4 or $5 grand. In fact, I'd almost advise not to do that. You know, put it out there, ask what their retainer would be, what their per hour would be, and then you can budget it as you go along on that side of the process. Generally, you don't need an attorney very often in these types of situations, so you can budget that out through the year and actually get a pretty good deal and save that money up every year. So just, I've seen a lot of little counties, they have law firms that are on retainer. They designate that law firm as their advisory group and goes from there. And that would kind of solve some of these budgeting issues. Because if it's a serious lawsuit or something, that's where the CTSI insurance and stuff kicks in.
Thank you, sir.
To his point, I guess one of the questions we should ask ourselves, are we gonna use an attorney more than 20 hours a month?
By the way, along that line, we can always change it too. We don't have to do it.
Well, if we put a vacancy announcement out for
That's what I'm
$5 grand,
saying
there's
is
no changing that, right?
If we accept it, if we take somebody on, we don't have to. If we decide in the meantime, there's a better way of doing it, or we don't give the people bidding on it. So. My thoughts.
I mean, I personally would just say that you guys probably wouldn't use an attorney 20 hours a month. You guys were lucky to have Quint there all the time, but you actually won't run up that many billable hours in the scheme of things. So just, I've worked in law firms where we advised counties when I was in towns for Pete Michelson, and that's how we would set up our situations with either the town of Westcliff or we did Fremont County sometimes as well.
I move to amend the motion by striking the word 5 and 1,000 and inserting 4,000.
Second that motion. So I have a motion on the floor to amend the existing motion by striking $5,000 and replacing that with $4,000. Discussion.
Well, if we. And I use 250 as an example, in the 5,000, I'll use the same for 4,000, it ends up. If we can. At $250 an hour, that would buy us 16 hours a month. Instead of 20. And again, I said it, but I'm a little concerned about the non-budgeted stuff. I didn't make that amendment to be argumentative or hateful. I just feel like that we could go up to that if we had to. If nobody bites, then guess who's the fool? Me. For
We
making
all
the
are,
amendment,
because then
but,
it pushes it down.
And I do that as a starting point. I'm not saying I would never pay more than that, but I'd like to at least start it there and see how it goes.
I don't have anything else to add, but I'm still standing back. We'll be lucky. We're talking 4 hours difference. If we don't have. I believe we can cover the cost.
Okay, I'm not seeing any hands raised on that, so we have a motion on the floor to amend the existing motion by striking $5,000 and inserting the sum of $4,000. Those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed?
Nay.
Well, that motion carries by 2-1 vote. That will bring up the motion on the floor now, moving forward with hiring a new county attorney, working with Braden on getting that posted, and that would be posting it at a sum of $4,000 a month retainer. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen.
We need to move forward.
Do we need a commissioner to meet with Braden?
Chair can do that.
I will do that.
Parliament process.
Perfect.
We'll get with him. He may not have been aware of this because
He may be in a meeting.
okay. Consideration of conservation trust fund policies and procedures. And I believe that you have put some of those together. Tweak some of those.
Yeah, we have them, right.
Mhm.
I'm good.
This is just a quick outline, and thank you guys. So in the budget hearing and other BOCC meetings, I've heard you all request for next year that the process, procedure, and policy be created to better assist in the application process, award selection, and management of the fund. So at your direction, this was put together. Want you to know the things that were reviewed in putting this together. First of all, we did hear what you were saying in the BOCC budget hearings, that you do want to see a public notice about the availability of the fund, a standardized grading procedure, and then how to create the budget. You all discussed how to come up with that, and notifying the public of its accomplishments, and not all of that is included in this. It was also considered with the communication with Leslie Jones, who is the program grant manager for DOLA for CTF, and the reviewing of annual reporting requirements and requirements for the CTF funds. Also, information on from the website, I pulled the statutes that are there, as well as eligibility requirements. And then a matrix or a rubric, which is included in this, was created from during the budget. You all had mentioned things that were important as part of your consideration. Are they county based? What kind of impact? Have they done this before? Are they, all of those things that you all had commented were put into that matrix. Also, I took this proposal and ran it by IT and finance because of the desire to put it on the website. And Vernon said, hey, we can do that. And Braden said, hey, the financing part of this looks good with the timing. So big things that you need to know when you're looking at this. One, CTF has a fund balance of $76,438.46. That's per the finance department at the year end of 2022. This is prior to any checks being cut, and any awards coming in. 2, budget determination from previous year. It was just thrown out there because this was the discussion that Braden and this board had, was to set the budget on on what was received the year prior, plus $5,000 until the fund gets spent down to a rainy day fund. Threw in there 20% for the rainy day fund of a 3-year average, because it does vary. We had 51,000 this year. Last year there was 47. The year before was 45. But it does fluctuate. Then applications would be, the timing is suggested from July until Labor Day, and that it would be available online. Those things
Available for application.
Available for applications. And then those applications are reviewed in a special meeting of the BOCC. So then you have an opportunity to review the applications and ask any questions of the folks who have applied
Before
budget hearings. Absolutely. And then even with the vote, that vote is then subject to the budget hearings and the budget being approved formally for the next year. So, and last is, in the event that requests come in outside of that allotted time, they still get presented at the next board meeting. And then this board would decide how to respond, whether it is, hey, let's look at this, or advise them to come back during the application time. So in this packet, you're going to see some things. One, the first thing is that the first page is the items that could be put on the website. Number 2 are rules that this county puts together for this grant for the public. A timeline, so then it is clear and concise what we're doing when. Example of a public notice, so what would be published in the newspaper. CTF, an example of an online application. And then a grading rubric. And in this grading rubric, you can see the things that you all have said, hey, these things are important. Also did review other grants and their rubrics on how they grade. Spreadsheet, this is just a calculation way that you can go through and put in, hey, 4 points, 3 points.
Proposed grading, is this what?
Yep, that would be, it is just something that you can go in and manually key in numbers and it will auto calculate. That way, when you are in the decision making, you have real-time information. Because it can be difficult to sit and calculate points. And then the list of recipients, because because of this proposal saying we want to post those online, that would meet that requirement of showing folks what this fund does for Custer County. And then all
52 threes and, okay.
that was for 2023. And then the rules and articles, as well as the statutes that govern Conservation Trust Fund, all of that is included. And also the eligible expenditures and ineligible expenses. These are all provided by the state. In this packet, you will also see the letter notifying them of and accepted that they are approved for this grant. And then the agreement that says that they are going to comply with the grant. And then the last thing is more of what the admin does and when. So, making sure that things get reported on time, the management of the funds, and how and when the notices are published. That is the proposal.
Good job. That's good.
Yeah, I think I dropped you an email about the 20% figure. Was that Braden or was that you? Where did that number come from?
That was part of the discussion in your budget hearing. Coming up with a number to have as a rainy day fund.
So he's just trying to maintain that's what Braden is.
Yeah,
Correct.
the conversation that all three of you had in the budget hearing was having just a little bit of wiggle room. So if in the event someone came to you and really needed the funds, you have the ability, because there are funds in there, that you could then
Still reaching.
pull out of that rainy day fund. But that is all up to this board and how.
Real time. It's not committing to do it. It's
Correct. It's just there. So what happens if?
We told them that some of that we had moved that direction for all of our funds.
Right.
We could do that.
Yeah.
And have that with the 20% figure.
So if the rolling average is 50,000, then eventually we will hit a fund balance. I hate to call it rainy day, but a fund balance of 10,000, which is a huge change of operation since I've been a commissioner.
good job. I move we accept her proposal to what do you want to call it, institute or to implement the proposed management of the Conservation Trust Fund.
And did you, well, I guess I will second that motion and move into discussion. I think you still had a comment to make on that.
Yeah, it's fine. But it's appropriate to have a motion on the table first.
Okay. So I will second that motion. So discussion.
Well, thank you for your work. I indicated that in email. This is the kind of direction we need to move as county on a lot of different fronts, and I know you've spent a lot of time on this. So thank you. Yeah, I got a little, I don't even want to call it heartburn, but if we're going to set a deadline, we're going to have a deadline. We're not, in my opinion, we should not come back and say, well, you missed a deadline, but we'll go ahead and reconsider you anyway. We've gotten in trouble with that already once. So I don't know where that language occurs exactly, Jennifer. I was trying.
It would be in the
to find it.
rules, very bottom of the second page that was provided. Any application
Oh, yeah.
for Custer County Trust Fund grant that is received after the deadline will be reviewed and submitted to the BOCC at their next regularly scheduled meeting.
Yeah, I'd like to strike that whole paragraph.
Not a problem.
That's just me, just for conversation. What's the point in having the deadline if we're gonna have that statement in there?
Well, I hear you, Tom, but there are occasions, and you brought it up in the past, after ARPA was gone, we wanted to do something else and we were trying to hold back a little bit of margin to be able to do that. This is, if it's known in the rule, it doesn't mean it's approved. Then it gives us, it's not an automatic, you will take it,
No.
and it would be on a ranked basis. There may be a reason to.
The point is,
to do it.
if an applicant misses the deadline, then we're gonna go ahead and give them consideration, and I don't agree with that.
Okay, the other issue is, I think we need to spend all the money. We don't want to keep rolling bigger bucks and gaining on it. We want to make sure it's just like taxpayer money. We don't want to bank the taxpayers' money. It's been raised and allocated to be used. So that's an
Well-
opportunity. If we do that, then we need to make sure then we set the budget accordingly.
Sure. We do it all the time.
And I'm fine with striking it.
The
too.
issue with getting down to a fund balance of 10,000 is when Colorado Lottery takes a hit, and then
Right.
all these people are gonna want some money, and
Right.
they're not gonna get it.
Right.
Cause we won't have it.
If we don't have it. you
That's
can't
why
get it.
that fund balance is like it is. It's not that we're trying to withhold it from the
Right.
community, it's trying to make sure we can cover some shortfalls on the Colorado Lottery dollars, so.
I don't have a
those were
problem
my
with it, I'm
two
just-
big angst with this. Other than that, I think it's well thought out, well presented, so I'm just. I can't support that paragraph if they miss a deadline.
And your thoughts on striking that paragraph?
I can go along with it, Kevin, but I think
You would
it's
prefer to have it.
nice to be able to do it, but if we're out, we're out, and people know that it's fair to. So
Yeah.
I don't want to, I
think
do
it's-
not want to carry a balance.
Pardon?
I do not want to carry a
Okay.
balance.
I think it's a disservice to the people that apply and meet the deadline. I think it's very wishy-washy for us
I
to say, well, you didn't make it, and so I really like your group, and that's what we'll be accused of, and I just think. it
No, I
keeps it-
agree with it.
Okay. The balance, I do think we should carry a balance. I'd love to hear Virginia's take on this.
But I didn't mean to get in that discussion. It's not
Okay.
part of this.
Yeah, I think it is part of
No,
this.
not really.
Because of the 20% threshold.
Well, you're striking it.
No.
No, what he's
Striking the
wanting to
paragraph dealing with.
strike
deadline,
is the
missing the deadline.
application
That's
deadline.
it.
Oh,
And
the rest of it's something we deal with when we get in the budget here. So we can carry any margin we want.
Well-
Because you're looking at the economy, you're looking real time. This, that's something we do anyway.
but by this document, we would be agreeing
Right.
to take that fund balance down to a 20% balance.
To what we've already agreed to on everything.
No,
Not on when we set our 20% rainy day deal. So anyway. I think she did a good job, and
Agreed.
I don't mind taking out that deadline thing.
yeah, so for lack of stumbling around here, I would move that we strike the last paragraph on the second page. We probably at some point, we're needing to number these pages, so we
Yeah,
can.
Do
absolutely.
you want to embed that in a motion already?
No, I move to amend that by striking that last paragraph on page 2. Starts with any application.
Okay, bottom of the page.
Yeah.
I would second that motion. Further discussion on that and the paragraph to be stricken, I will read. Any application for Custer County Conservation Trust Fund grant that is received after the deadline will be reviewed and submitted to the BOCC at their next regularly scheduled meeting. At the discretion of the BOCC, they can decide to consider the application out of the normal cycle or hold the application until the following year's open application time and consider it at that time. That is the verbiage that will be stricken. So basically telling them that they need to be put in during the application.
So when I read that, I did ask Jennifer, and where did it come from? What made you decide that would be a good thing to move to? Could you? had mentioned that.
Because in the
That's-
budget hearing, listening to this board and with the rainy day funds, what happens if somebody does come and want to request this and we want to entertain it.
Right. So so striking that out is okay. My point would be then, I like the part where you move it in, it's still an active application for the next year.
Yeah, they could come back the next
Right.
year. We're not disqualifying.
You wouldn't take it away from them. I mean,
Well, for that.
we would
fiscal
allow that
year,
to be
we
moved
would,
into that
right.
this next fiscal.
And, go ahead.
What I was going to say is in lieu of this, just making it all applications not received during the application period will be held until the next.
Yeah, I couldn't support that either. They need to apply every year. We're not, I don't think. Sorry, I was gonna make a very ignorant statement. I don't
Well, the
believe.
need could
we
go
should
away,
put
you
them
don't
in a
know.
queue.
Yeah.
I think every year, everybody reapplies. If you don't meet the deadline, you're done. That's the way I look at it. Then we don't get into this gray
Yeah.
area. And then we know where we're at for the number of applicants, budget dollars, the requested dollars. We don't have to go back and second guess anything.
So we're good. All
They
I
can
want
always
to
do
do
it
is
again.
just clarify it. So how you got it.
So
We're good.
on that note, really quick, Tom, so you know, with the online application, we do have the ability to say, close it off. Or if they submit an application, we leave it up and they want to submit an application outside of cycle, we can put a message that says, thank you for your application. Make sure to reapply and then give them the dates. So then that way they know.
But that's a mechanic.
Yeah, just
Nothing to do with this.
We don't need to babysit them. Hell's bells, man. If they want the money, get the application, get it in on time. You get your application on time, we'll consider it. If you don't.
Point
we won't.
is, really what you're making, the point is, once the deadline is made, they can't. It
Mhm.
will not electronically happens also.
Well,
That doesn't preclude anybody from coming to us if they have a special need throughout the year, not specifically asking for
Just
CTF
community
funds,
outreach.
Mhm.
and approaching us. And if we decided we wanted to use them at that time, we can do that, but that's not part of this process.
And they've got roughly, I think what you had in here, 5 months of an open application.
July
period,
through
or-
1st of September.
Or was it just July through September? So 3 months. They can't get it done in 3 months to get some free money. I'm not interested in babysitting them. That's what I'm
Okay.
saying.
So I do have a motion on the floor then. Let me check. Any comments from the room? None here, none from online. So I have a motion on the floor to amend the prior motion and striking the last paragraph on the rules, trust fund rules page, as read by me, and just striking that paragraph. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I would interject if it occurs, I don't think it did, but if that language, if it's intimated somewhere else in the document about considered later, that would be taken out as well, right? Whatever ties to that, so.
I want to thank you for the summary. That helped.
Thanks.
Yes. A lot of work that went into this, I would say, so, I guess back to the discussion on the
Yeah, I think.
main motion.
I think what we ought to do here is, and I've dealt with this since I came on as a commissioner, we need to tie this and make sure the public understands this Colorado lottery money. There's nowhere in this document that it mentions that. So I think we should say in the introductory part that what is a conservation trust fund? Instead of distributes CTF dollars, maybe we can just put, and it is CTF dollars. but
CTF dollars. that are
generated
raised
by the
the-
Colorado lottery program. I think we'd be doing them a disservice if we don't.
Okay.
Put that in there.
That doesn't require a motion on that.
Yeah, I think I like that.
Okay.
I hear consensus on that.
Okay.
And then, yeah, I'm not gonna die on the stake of the fund balance thing. We'll see. If we don't ever get burned by not getting dollars, we're good. I guess we don't get them 1 year, then we say, here's how much money we got to deal with. And then do we use a rainy day fund up on a given year, or do we just not fund them on a given year? that's a decision.
It's a decision you make at that time.
I believe so. Any discussion on this motion then on the floor to approve the CTF policies as amended? Nothing online. So those in favor?
Mike, I have a clarification question. Sorry.
Okay. Go ahead.
20% yay or nay? Bill, are you going to,
That's still in,
Yeah.
that's still in.
still in there? Perfect. Thank you.
So those in favor of approving the Conservation Trust Fund policies and procedures, signify by saying aye.
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 Right,
That motion carries.
thank you.
Jennifer, thank you very much. I
Wow.
know that was a lot of work.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Now I have rules.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, yeah, we didn't welcome you, did we?
You did not. You all see me
Apologies.
every day. You didn't welcome.
Thank you for coming to the meeting.
My apologies.
You guys, gentlemen, good or you need a break?
I could use just a quick 2 or 3 minute.
Let's take a short break, short recess and
I know.
I think these next two will go pretty quick, don't you? I was thinking about jumping around, but.
I think we'll go pretty quick.
Get 'em on.
All right, the time is now 11:09 a.m. and I will reconvene this meeting of the Custer County Board of Commissioners. Next item we have on our agenda is the consideration of the donation to After Prom for Custer County School District.
I put that on there and I'll move that we donate for the after prom Custer County, what is it, school district, the amount of $520. Last year we did 510. We're magnanimous this year.
So your 520 is just to bump it just a little for
I
inflation.
want to make the inflation come. It's for fuel. It's a fuel excise tax
Paid out of,
paid out of our, what did we do it before? Was it the community outreach? I think.
Do I have a second on that?
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor for consideration to make a donation to the After Prom Custer County School District in the sum of $520 to come out of community outreach.
Assuming one of us will beat it after
Dis-
prom,
Discussion.
not me.
I know that last year they were very thankful and the after prom party had more fun than the prom party did. That's what I heard. So I think it's a worthwhile thing, keeps them off the streets
Yeah, they come.
or out of jail.
Do they lock them in on that deal or?
I think once they go out, they can't come back.
Can't come back in.
All right. So they lock them out, not lock them in.
Yeah, like a junior high dance, you know.
There you go. Any further discussion on that?
So you know, they have 98% participation. Wow. Which is a great way to keep the kids safe. That was from Troy Baumgartner. He asked that I should.
Good.
I'm assuming we'll either get an invoice or generate our own, huh?
And we got an invoice from last year. They sent us
Troy, said that we can get a piece of paper that shows the, so it would be like an outreach. It's just a letter saying thank you for donating.
Yeah, but we need to.
How are we gonna
we
generate
need to
it?
generate, we need to get a request from them.
I have
You
that.
got it, so
And so
put in $520.
They did send a formal request.
he asked me if I could talk to Bill about getting it presented, and then he emailed me the letters
Okay.
that he would use that were blank without an amount.
Right,
Okay.
we'll put it
Yeah,
in,
so-
send it,
Yeah, so we have something to turn into finance.
Yeah.
so we can track it.
Okay. Any other discussion on that? Anything from the room or online?
I doubt they have a date set yet, but. You know, nothing online.
Okay. So those in favor of making a donation in the sum of $520 to the After Prom for Custer County School District to come out of community outreach, signify by saying aye.
All right,
Motion carries. Have consideration of Michael's Zolator, I hope I pronounced that correctly, as an ex officio member of the Tourism Board for a one-year term ending January 2024.
So moved.
I'll second.
I have a motion on the floor to approve Michael Zolator as a ex officio member of the Tourism Board, term ending in January 2024. Any discussion?
No, I don't know him really, but I understand he works with the arts and crafts area of the businesses in town, I think he is. I'd like to see other, at some point, some other businesses represented on the board. They get a lot of the arts and crafts thing. I think it's a good one, though, as an ex officio. Board.
Anything from the room? And nothing online. Those in favor then of approving Michael Zolator as an ex officio member of the tourism board for a one-year term ending in January 2024. Signify by saying aye.
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 All right,
Consideration of Rotary Club storage building site near the SAR building.
if I may, Mr. Chair, I asked that be included in the agenda. Johnson, Mr. Drummond are here today, representing the Rotary Club. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming. I asked GIS to print this map. We'll get into the specifics of it, but just so you know, the reference of this map, the search and rescue buildings on the left, the Rotary carport is a tan colored roof, and then the fence line, it's a little blurry, but that's the sheriff's office fence on the east side. So I was contacted the other day by the administrator of the Rotary van about getting permission to place a 6 foot by 8 foot storage shed somewhere. And so after going back and forth via text messages, unless something's changed, I'm just telling you what my conversation was, and then we can have these gentlemen add some color to that. Didn't really have a specific location in mind. They indicated anywhere would work. They just need a place to set a storage building. And so no cost to the county. This is county property. We own the search and rescue building. We lease it to search and rescue, of course. They've got some trailers stored on the east side of that search and rescue. So I have a recommendation to make, but if it's all right, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask these gentlemen if they have some additional information.
So if I may, just before that, real quick, in as far as reference on this aerial photo. And we are looking at it the way you described it, with north being on the bottom of the
North
page.
on the bottom, yes, sir.
That is what I. And so you.
Or you could turn it upside down, and I got it going up. like
Actually, you know
north is.
what? Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's turn it.
So
right.
that's the way I had.
I
it
get the
turned,
right way.
To be, I'm sorry.
So
You're exactly right.
I just wanted to make sure we were all looking at it.
Yeah.
And you made reference to the Rotary's got some storage on the east side of the SAR.
No,
At this- or
search and rescue does.
Search and rescue.
Rotary has storage. It's a little blurry, but on the east side of the carport.
And it's
you can
not in the
see
picture.
That is a trailer sitting there. So Rotary does have a trailer right on the east side of that carport.
That's not our trailer.
Oh, that's not yours? Okay, wow.
The carport is who?
Right.
You already have a
I thought that
carport
was-
in the picture.
Yes, that's Rotary's carport.
So it's your car.
But I thought that was your trailer. It's
There in searching east of the.
It just looks like a
okay,
nice place.
you
to
guys
park
have a
trailer.
trailer though, right? You don't? Oh, I thought you
So you want
get
a
tables and,
The Rotary has.
You wanna park a tough shed, is that what you're buying?
Totally separate in it.
okay, so maybe we do need to back up, because I asked for clarification and never got that. So WMVR
Wet Mountain Rotary.
VSI.
Yeah.
Totally different organization.
Yep.
Did not know that.
And we are, only reason we have the Rotary name even is because the Rotary started the van service as a separate entity, just like medical lending, if you've heard about that, is a separate entity from.
So is it a
Okay.
nonprofit corporation? What is it?
Nonprofit.
So somehow we weakened a long time ago and gave you some ground.
Yep.
And no other, wonder when the nonprofit gate
Well-
will close. Or what if they bust open and everybody wants a piece of our action?
So we can clarify between Rotary and let's just call it van service.
Correct.
Two separate organizations. Van service owns the carport
Mhm.
and those vehicles under it.
Yes.
Wow, I did not know that. Okay. And Ivan is the chairman of the van service. Correct?
Which one's Ivan?
Ivan's in the green, sorry. And
Wayne,
Dwayne Johnson is the
dispatcher.
dispatcher for the van service. That's it. Simple and clear.
And Deb is our administrator,
Okay.
and we have a board made up of 5 members.
Wow. Yeah, I just assumed this was all part of my apologies.
No problem.
So that's the request that the van service would like to, I kept calling it Rotary, but the van service would like
That makes
to
it,
be able to set a storage building that apparently you're going to buy or have purchased, one of the two.
you have rotary on your door.
Storage, yeah. On all the vehicles they have.
That's what makes
rotary.
everybody think it's a rotary deal.
Right.
That's kind of a misconception that's out there, but we're working to change.
That's your fault for having that. symbol.
Well, but that's how they set it up.
Right, yeah.
So because
And we
Rotary
don't-
initially started,
In our bylaws, but the board members, I think there can only be 2 board members that are not Rotary members.
No.
Everybody else has to be a Rotary.
Also, they're affiliated with.
So do you gentlemen have a preferred location of said building? That's the big question in my mind.
Do you want to answer that, Dwayne?
We, going by the picture, if you're holding it.
It's north of.
Is there?
Well, north up.
North would
is
be
like
that way.
this.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah,
it,
that's
hold
the
it
way
like
we're-
that.
we're holding it.
That way you got east, like a map, it's how you'd read a map.
Okay.
And again, it's just gonna be 6 by 8 and part of the deal is that it be tied down.
Was it way sitting behind the big thing or
South of that, over that.
south of the main awning?
If you see the search and rescue trailer sitting there,
Mhm.
south of it, on the south end there, so it'd be the southeast corner.
We moved up.
You go out to the corner,
Yeah.
cause are you driving in the back end of that thing? Is it a drive
It's all the
through?
way through.
Yeah, okay, so it'd have to be behind that other,
Just east of the building and south of that Rotary, I mean that.
that trailer.
And we'll just have the trailer moved up further north, so we have room to put.
Or would you rather have that? See, there's no reason SAR can't park that somewhere else either.
Either, yeah, but if they want to continue parking it there, that works for them, just need them to move it up about 5 or 6.
So you're saying to back the storage building up against the southeast corner of the carport
On the
okay.
east side of it.
on the east side, yeah.
so
They can drive, sir.
south end of that storage building. At the same, so south end of the storage building at the south corner of the
Right.
carport, so it does not protrude any further south.
Correct.
Right, so the south end of the building would be in line with the south end of the carport. The other conversation I had with.
Yeah.
No, well, I did talk to her. I don't think we got into specifics about the location. The sheriff, I asked, had a conversation with him about that. About the very southeast corner of the fence. And basically back it up against the east side of the fence, although it would become kind of an impediment for you to drive in there. You still could, I measured it, you could still drive in there, but. Invariably, somebody plows into it or snow or whatever.
I like your idea with it, moving that trailer up and out of the way.
Yeah, I
Park
think,
it beside it.
I just assumed that was a rotary trailer. I don't know why it couldn't be over by search and rescue and.
Could be anywhere, and if there's room to have it moved up, leave it there, it's up to you guys.
Right.
You put your building in there first and let.
They may be having it parked there because the carport acts as a windbreak.
Do you know how long that carport is right off the bat?
About
30 feet, that's what I
Maybe
would
take a
guess.
little bit.
Okay,
2 vehicles fit in it back to back.
Yeah,
all right, I move that we allow the Rotary Club store, you calling it a
Van
Rotary
service.
Club, it's actually the Rotary Van Service. To locate a 6 by 8 shed on the southeast corner of the current carport.
That's correct.
second,
Yes, I do have a motion on the floor to allow the Rotary Van Service. To locate a 6 by 8 storage shed. On the east side of the existing carport. Any further discussion?
screw anchors
Believe so.
or long rods, something.
The company in Canyon that's
Okay.
got the building.
Because I had asked Deb, is it gonna require a concrete pad or not? I never heard back from him, so,
No, it'll just be leveled and then cabled down.
good.
Not storing any hazardous materials, are you?
No, it'll just be good stuff for the vehicles and vacuum cleaner,
Okay, that's okay, I'm just kidding.
keys for the vehicles. I'm not glad that that's become an issue with the staffing at Sheriff.
Oh, that's not a bad idea.
I'm assuming that you're gonna put the entrance door to that on the south end, so you can go right in that end of the carport then. Not that that makes any difference, but
Actually, that in. Kind of depends on the building,
Need it there because the north side, you're gonna get snow drift.
right.
Yeah, I think door to the east or to the south.
It's south is where you
Yeah,
want it facing.
yeah.
Not my
That,
door.
that doesn't matter here,
Good.
just a comment.
Way to go, guys.
Thank
You
you.
toughed it out.
Any further comment from here? In the room? I'm seeing nothing online. So those in favor of allowing the rotary van service to put a 6x8 storage building on the east side of the existing carport, signify by saying aye.
All right.
All right,
Aye. The motion carries.
thank you, gentlemen.
Yes,
Being
thank
here
you for
today.
being patient with us.
Can't go now. Up the rest of this meeting out.
Yeah, if you leave now, you can't say I sat through the whole stinking meeting, right?
Thanks for that. So our last item on the agenda is that was added at the beginning. And that would be consideration of setting a special meeting Thursday, March 2nd. For a personnel matter, executive session. For a personnel matter. And I would move that we approve a special BOCC meeting with the agenda item being an executive session for a personnel matter for Thursday, March 2nd
I'll second.
2 p.m.
at 2 p.m.
I'll second
Thank you for
that.
that. So any further discussion on that? Okay, those in favor of signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Any other items of business, gentlemen?
No, sir.
None here. Public comment? I'm not seeing any hands online.
I think it's just us.
Everybody is done. That being the case, I will adjourn this meeting at 11:27 a.m.
Good. I can get a call.
Thank you, one and all. Thank you guys for sitting through everything there. You came early and stayed till you were on the end of the agenda.